Ladies and gentlemen, let's, I think, start with the third seminar of the third day and the last seminar before lunch. We've had technical presentations on equipment. We have had presentations on elevators at 20 meters per second. We have talked about standards and codes. All those things are just about nothing if you do not substantiate, if you do not push it forward with maintenance. So if you can have a 20 meter per second elevator, but if it's not maintained, it's virtually of no use. You might just have it on paper. Now, service is a tough aspect, and I always say that I lost most of my hair taking on a service assignment for 3 years. Service invariably tends to be measured on negatives. So how many complaints, how many breakdowns, while everything else gets measured on positives. You know, how many sales you have, how many elevators you have sold or how many elevators you have completed. So it makes life difficult for a service person. So what this topic is about is how do we approach customer service, or rather how do we monitor customer service in a situation or in an era where technology has really advanced a lot, where communication is super fast. I remember days when a mechanic would go to a site and then try to figure out what equipment it was, what spare parts were required. He didn't have a clue about what the history of the equipment was, which in this situation where technology is available, it's no longer a requirement. This presentation would address that. The two speakers for today, the first, Mr. Ranjeet Sharma. He joined the elevator industry as a sales and marketing person who got involved in handling major projects. A couple of very tall buildings were handled by him. I've interacted with him across the table on a couple of projects. He shifted to the Middle East, where he continued in the same assignment, and he's now shifted back to India to handle service. So I think he's probably like my hairless atmosphere, and probably he wants to do something about that. Ranjeet, if you could come over. So probably 2 years from today, we could probably have a look at what his situation is. The second speaker would be Rajesh Anegundi. I think you'll join later on. He's again been a person that I've known now for probably more than 20 years. And a person who has been extremely hands-on. Even though he heads a huge service maintenance-based business today, he's still significantly hands-on. When there is a technical problem, invariably he's the go-to man for me, and you can be sure that it gets handled. Though he works for a specific company, he's a person who has understood technology across suppliers, across maintenance, and when he goes for a maintenance, it's not just from a company-specific manual perspective. He goes about it from the first principles.
Or 4 years ago, and he clearly said, Ranjeet, the elevator industry is plateauing out in terms of the next evolution of technology. What will differentiate you or any company who wishes to remain in the lead will be performance on contract management and service delivery. Tak, we take your words very seriously, even at a corporate level. Let me begin with saying that excellence in service delivery cannot happen if we don't have a solid partner. And just like other companies selected other partners, Schindler selected nothing less than the most iconic company in the world, the biggest brand in the world, Apple. So the innovation today of Schindler stands on the back of the iOS platform. And today we've turned innovation into reality. And we've truly embarked upon the journey from being a reactive service provider, which was the norm in the elevator industry for the longest time, to now a proactive service provider. The IOS platform, with more than 30,000 devices in the hands of our service technicians all across the world, give us absolutely unparalleled benchmark in the service industry. And this is what I would talk to you about with the following agenda. A small introduction to the topic. Shape Field Link, which is our flagship about how the field is digitized and enabled. Schindler Connectivity, which then leads itself into the next two topics of Schindler Direct and Schindler Dashboard, absolutely customer-centered and customer-oriented. And finally, Schindler India, the leading edge, because we firmly believe it's not just about the gimmicks, it's not just about giving fancy toys in the hands of boys, sometimes girls, to play with, but it's really the backbone of the company, which is what you invest in training and enabling your manpower and making them the best on the field. So quickly to kick things off, introduction. I think the real page turner in the book of tech evolution was the advancement in memory technology. Now, if you look at this timestamp here on the slide, what you would see is an enactment of Gordon Moore's law, which is memory size exponentially doubles every 18 months. Now, this brings huge opportunities in the area of service and in the area of technological development. And it led to a huge surge in computing power, because essentially it's sitting, on the back of how strong the memory is. Then came the revolution of connectivity and the mobile platform. So from memory, you went to connectivity, all the fiber optic networks, etc. And finally, the mobile platforms, which we're increasingly exposed to in all facets of life that we see today. So memory and connectivity combined with mobile platform absolutely caused a tech revolution. This is the revolution of the last 2 years, big data and Internet of Things. You obviously see the chairmen and CEOs of the biggest tech corporations in the world, Google and Apple, and even Internet of Things then brought about the real revolution to say where devices and equipments could get connected and bring about a pool of data analytics, which then led you to what we call the information superhighway. And this is exactly the genesis of what we as a company and many other companies of our ilk thought of in terms of service delivery from technology. This brings me to the part where I want to talk very proudly about Shape Field Link. Field Link is the device which we equipped our service technicians with in the field, and the form and function of which I would like to very briefly touch upon, not for the interest of going on too long. I would preview to you some screens and some functions which are attached with the Field Link. This is a device fully connected with our ERP systems and through data and voice, and it's essentially equipping our field to be much more efficient. It's equipping our field to be much more customer responsive, and it's reducing downtime and response times. So we have main menu, job list, filters, and the rest. I will just scan you through or flip you through a few. It starts with the main menu, obviously, that's what it looks like. Accessible from everywhere and anytime by sliding the screen from left to right. Gives the possibility to switch an area from one to the other. That's the job list. This is the job list for a technician when he or she starts his day, and which jobs they would attend and which ones are on priority, because obviously, let's say a job like a man trap is obviously the highest priority. You cannot leave it to priority number 3 or 4. These are a couple of icons that our screens enable for our technicians to give the priority. Filter and full text search, obviously, this is, for example, there's been a higher priority or there's a preferential servicing of a certain job. The technician can scroll up or scroll down just through a simple text search and go and address that job first. That's the job start screen from where he would punch in everything. The left side area gives you the open job start screen, displays the needed information before starting the activity, like open non-conformances, possible outcome visits, etc. When the user taps on the right area of the screen, opens the job details screen. It's just a very simple, intuitive iOS-based platform. Displays all the information that is related to the current job and the equipment details, which I think will be very relevant for him to access. And when he pulls it up at the end of that, a report is generated, and the technician can go ahead and actually start servicing the equipment. That's a maintenance callback. It's just a reporting process. I wouldn't dwell too much upon it because this is more for internal reporting purposes about what this is completely configurable. So this could be different in different scenarios. But I'm just trying to reinforce the point about how comprehensive the data, just at the click of a fingertip and on a mobile device that the technician carries around him or her all throughout the city or the geography that he or she maintains. It just gives you complete flexibility in what you need to do and mobility. A push notification, new callback push notification process replaces the SMS process. No SMS gateway to manage anymore. I think this is a huge process improvement. User receives a blue pop-up that you see on the screen. There's a possibility to get the job details, the red arrow, accept, forward, reject, just as in a standard mobile platform. There's a forward notification as well. Instead of calling the call center, technician is able to forward a notification to another technician who's probably closer in the area, a little more well-versed with the client, or if the technician number one is unable to make the call for whatever reason. There's a spare parts catalog, so it's not just completely on diagnostics, it's also at the back end giving you absolute information, your catalog, how to order the spares, because like I said, it's connected to, this is the next slide that we talk about, our ERP system, the SAP, and you can actually go ahead and order spares right from the click of a finger on your mobile device. Now this really gives you a cutting edge, I would say, in the market. The following topic on geocoding and route mapping is of specific interest because of the densities of some of, Mumbai as a city, the way it's populated and the way buildings are generated in those specific areas. So, you can actually go ahead and have, tagged or coded equipment where you would know what is the state and health of that equipment, of course, in addition to knowing the location and what would be the closest route to reach that equipment. So this is really, I would say, disruptive in the way elevator maintenance is being handled. And we're very proud that we've also jumped the bandwagon, like a few of our other, I would say, associates within the elevator industry have as well. This brings us to connectivity. Now, what does connectivity mean for us? Do we always need a hard line and analog line? And do we always want to see that it switches from an analog to a digital signal while we're in the process of handling a very irate customer who's probably having one of his family members trapped or any other such very, very undesirable things? Then we would move on to say, is it obligatory to have phone lines for emergency call systems? Yes. But are they the most effective? Let's say, for example, if it's late into the night, and then like we just talked about traffic density, we talked about accessibility to the building overall. These are built-in problems into the concept of service and maintenance. What about laying the foundation for modern emergency and monitoring services wherein proactively the equipment tells you that there is a problem upcoming or a service maintenance schedule that's due, and then why not the provider goes ahead and proactively does the service that they need. So the technology set up for Schindler connectivity, or connectivity that we propose from our end, is a simple norm-conformed technology upgrades for older elevators. You can actually install them in older elevators. New elevators are connectivity ready, digitally wireless, and this is absolutely the new generation and the new age where information technology meets our existing technology and gives the benefits and passes on the benefits right on to the customer. What I would like to talk about now is how the analog technology has progressed into the digital technology, wherein you can have basically through a telecom route, a DSL, or through a mobile network, which is 2G or 4G. We have both these options available in this specific transference of the technology from analogs to digital. The complementary services, we talk about two, that's Telealarm and Schindler Direct. I wouldn't touch upon them just specifically from, as Stack Advice marketing perspective. I would only talk about Schindler Direct as a concept because it's the latest technology which is fully norm compliant. You have 24/7 access. Man trap and release can be done remotely, or at least can be diagnosed remotely. Proactive services for self-detection and health checks. And essentially, the idea is to always stay on top of things from an equipment maintenance perspective. So if they're building managers, if they're society managers, or whoever has been entrusted with the task to ensure that the elevators in the building are running properly, I think this is the tool and similar tools that you may see in the market. So what are basically the benefits of the connectivity that we talk about? Installation and management together, regular system checks so that you can maintain and also predict the health and upkeep of your equipment, battery backup in case of power cuts, because I think that's a problem in some parts of the country, digital upgrade as required by telecom operators, I think this is standard, and no hidden costs. This brings us to Schindler Direct as a concept, and what I would like to do is to explain it very, very briefly through a small AV that we have prepared. But to lay it out very, very simply for you, service today is, in the concept as it exists, or in the context that it exists today, fix things and reported by you. Whereas the next generation of service tomorrow is things are already fixed and they're reported to you. So here's a concept about Schindler Direct for your reference.
Schindler elevators take people where they want to go every day. To their homes, to work, or to the swimming pool. In a hotel, guests should enjoy their stay, even if something goes wrong. With our remote diagnostic system, Schindler Direct, you're always one step ahead. The diagnostic system in the elevator immediately registers and transmits every fault. At the Schindler Service and Diagnostic Center, the problem is automatically analyzed and evaluated. A report is swiftly made and sent to a Schindler service technician. He receives it directly on his mobile phone. He sets off right away. And thanks to the detailed report, he'll already have the necessary repair tools with him. Within a short time, the elevator's back in business, without a single guest noticing anything was wrong. Now, all the technician needs to do is complete the task and move on to the next job. Safe, reliable, and always one step ahead. Schindler Direct.
So I hope that gave you a brief overview of what Schindler Direct really proposes for your buildings if you're in the stage of planning your service and or probably renewing your contract. So what we're basically trying to ride on the back of is 70% of issues recognized and handled upon self-detection. That's a huge disruption in the way that maintenance and service businesses run as of date. Now, the circular approach in which the direct method works is there's 24/7 data transmission, real-time information on equipment status, sort of a remote monitoring concept, proactive handling of incoming data, and guided troubleshooting. I think this really, really crunches the turnaround time and really gives a lot more comfort and process efficiency to those involved in the building maintenance and service. So what is Schindler Direct all about? It's our permanent elevator diagnostic service, as you just saw, a little audiovisual to explain that. By smart processing of data from the past and the present, it enables us to maintain each elevator accurately and proactively and preventively. It also assists our service technicians with precise hints for the right fix and provides us with a real-time overview for your elevator's condition, both at our perspective as well as the customer's perspective. In short, it's hassle-free mobility, both for us and for the user. Now, what we are trying to do is we're trying to marry a few concepts here to say direct connectivity, a dashboard available for us and both at the customer's perspective, and bringing it together through the concept of connectivity. So what would you ask? I would probably preempt a question to say, what are really the benefits? The key benefits, I would say, more uptime. That's something I just talked about a couple of minutes ago, because the more preventively and proactively an equipment can be diagnosed, the more uptime it'll automatically have, because you wouldn't really wait for the breakdowns to happen. And transparency, always on top of the situation. I think this is really the key for anybody who's in a position to demand better service. They need to be on top of things. What we did is we put together a sort of a user interface, both from our perspective as well as the customer's perspective, to say, what kind of information would a customer like? And this lends itself to the concept called the Schindler Dashboard. It's both available on the regular PC or desktop or laptop-based platform, as well as the mobile platform, because everybody is mobile today. So let me actually give you a sneak peek into how the Schindler dashboard works from the perspective. I would really encourage you to look at this from a user perspective and see what would you like to see on a dashboard that any company representative, in this case Schindler representative, would bring to you. So that's essentially what I'm talking about, real-time information, all-time access. I don't think there's anybody who would not like that. And for our more, people who are really up to speed with what they need to do, the transparency that it provides in terms of the elevator availability, mean time between callbacks, the callback overview, root cause analysis, then going forward to the next step to make it more interactive, because there's a page where the customer can actually log in and view information that's relevant to his or her equipment, their portfolio, their maintenance plan, their direct health report for the equipments, their quotations, orders, and invoices if need be. And in the end, making it more responsive through connectivity, new and close callbacks, out of service, back in service, technician on site, job done, schedule reports, from the overall, getting a iron's grip over your own business. I will just skip over the mobile platform because we talked about it already, but if a customer's on the move, he's easily able to maintain this just through downloading a Schindler app on his mobile and being able to view his equipment. Now, what I would do is I would like to cap off my presentation, and I wouldn't like to carry on too long, but just reinforce the point that, we would not like to leave you with a message to say, we have a lot of toys and a lot of gimmicks and a lot of technology, but then essentially, and I see my entire senior management sitting here in front of me on the first row, this is a commitment and an endorsement from their side to say that it's not just all the gimmicky technology that we would like to propose and say this will make it, your elevator made out of gold and fly like a jet engine, but it's essentially the people who will operate it which will give you the real edge, and give us rather the real edge in the market. And I would like to underscore only one point in this is level and the concept of training that we have. It's absolutely world-class. We have 3 centers, now actually 4. Our CEO just inaugurated the 4th center within the city of Pune. And we have absolutely the latest technology based in training. And we're more than welcome to visit one of our training centers and really see how we are becoming more and more customer-oriented, how we are strengthening the backbone of our business, and how we, Schindler, are leading through customer service. Thank you very much.
Sir, what is the downtime is considered in your services? And second question is, these are the high-tech lifts. So do you suggest the customers any mandatory things and non-mandatory things so that the customer will fix the elevator as per the budgets and all?
Rajesh, would you like to take that question?
For the first question, I would like to answer it is 98.5 average uptime. So 1.5% is the downtime. So I didn't get the second question. What is that?
If anything special needs to be fixed for these technologies to run.
These are the high-tech lifts, and we see the many controls and so many things are there, out of which, do you suggest to the customer these are the mandatory and these are not the mandatory, so that the customers can select those types of provisions in their lifts which he finds economical?
See, what I suggest is whatever is safety related are mandatory. We cannot compromise on the safety part. So most of the elevator companies provide these safeties, and we suggest you should go for that. You should not take it as an optional feature.
Other provisions means which are the fancy requirements?
No, if I may ask you, sir, did you mean from a maintenance perspective or prior to that from a elevator purchasing and installation and, equipment perspective? What is your question, if I may ask?
See what happens if the things which are fancy provided at the time of installations becomes very difficult to maintain.
Could you, like the interiors of the cars?
Interiors of the cars and other things.
Okay.
Push buttons.
Yeah,
and all those things.
what ends up happening
It's
is,
given some impression to the outsider. These
Yes.
these are not maintained.
you know,
And the outsiders only see the interior of the car, not the machinery and inside the shaft.
there are two aspects to the whole thing. We, even from the building design perspective, tend to be driven by the looks. I mean, something that I had mentioned during a panel discussion yesterday is, we're just looking at the outside. Now that's important. I'm not saying it's not important, but probably what is more important is the inside, not the outside. And today we see buildings where people will work on gimmicks, and I'll use the word gimmicks. I mean, you were saying gimmicks and not bother about anything else, which is a very, very wrong way to go about it. You have fancy push buttons, they require maintenance. You have nice glass paneling, glass will break. So you need to take a call between what is robust, what is the application, and what is it that you want in terms of the looks. If you compromise either way, it's going to be a problem. Any further questions? So sorry for jumping into your topic, but it's a little different.
Yep.
Yeah. Any further questions? Okay. If that's the case, I have one query.
At any point of time, do you give the certificate?
I didn't hear that, sir. Would you mind
At any
repeating?
point of time, say once in 6 months or once in a year, do you give the certificate of zero defect, no error, something like that?
Thanks.
See, we have certain safety audits done by Schindler technicians. We call it as confirmation of periodic safety inspections, which are focused on customer safety, user safety. So we do these inspections every year, we audit this, and we give a certificate on safety aspects, whether the elevator is safe for usage. So these are the mandatory checks we do. And also on the elevator history, what all type of breakdowns happened, or how many maintenance visits we have done. Entire history is given once in a year.
And then just to move to the next level, what we talked about, the dashboard concept, you will actually have a live history of your equipment right in front of you online, updated regularly, whenever there's a callback, whenever there's some sort of repair done on it. So it's power in your hands as a consumer, as a user. So as Rajesh rightly said, safety being non-negotiable, we give you a certification. Anything else to check on the diagnostic and health of your equipment, our equipment with you, is available to you online now through the new platforms. I think that is the way the industry is moving.
Customers are not used to those type of things. So if the
I didn't hear. Can you repeat the part of it?
if the elevator is going up and down, that is enough for that customer, nothing else.
Well, let me give you a different perspective. It's probably, you're towing the line of just the bare bones plain vanilla user. But what about people who are involved in elevator maintenance, who are involved in the running and upkeep and who have to ensure that, there are no safety violations and the elevator upkeep is probably their priority. So I think there is a shift, there is a paradigm shift in the way things are moving about with the elevator industry. People are more concerned about safety, people are more concerned about functionality, people are more concerned about being no breakdowns, people are more concerned that their technology needs to be upgraded. Yes, up and down is the basic motive, that's why the elevator industry hasn't changed essentially in the last 1.5 centuries. But this is really giving more power to the user so that they're able to see what is the health of the equipment that they travel every day in.
More an observation than a question. As elevator consultants, we do audit equipment. As elevator consultants, we get into an elevator, we find it difficult to shut our eyes. We see, we hear of what is going on. And the biggest issue that we see today is the average maintenance mechanic goes to a site and he walks away from the site without seeing, without observing, without hearing. There's one building that I go to often, that's where a client of mine, it's on the topmost floor. On the topmost lobby, and these are not machine roomless elevators, I can hear the machine sound. The receptionist has got so used to it, so I asked her about it and she said, oh, but that's how it is, so we know the lifts are running. So I talked to the manager and he came over to the site and said, I can't believe that it is running that way. Indicators. I have been to sites where the client is a person who has tenders worth 50, 100 crores worth of elevators. Indicators are stuck up by sellotape. How is that aspect being addressed is probably the bigger challenge than the monitoring. There probably was a time when the monitoring was the biggest issue. Today, I think the biggest issue has probably shifted to a wrong attitude. If that attitude is not corrected, all your monitoring is going to be of real no use.
Completely agree. Many thanks, Tech. Thank you very much, and I hope you all have a good afternoon. We have a stall just right down the lane, and you're more than welcome to visit it. Thank you again.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing more hair down, Rajesh. We shall compete with each other. Rajesh, just go. The next section will be at 2 in the afternoon, and that will be the last two sessions. In the meanwhile, I would request you to walk around and have a look at the stalls. Thank you very much.